Coming up on today's episode of PSN, we have six-time ISA World Para Surfing Champion Victoria Feige on the program to talk all things surfing and her career as an athlete and physiotherapist. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smythe and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into PSN. I'm Alex Smythe. Surf's up on today's edition. We have co-host Nathan Clement here, Nathan, I am so excited to talk with Victoria Feige. She is someone I've been trying to get on for a little while here. I'm excited we finally have her to talk all things parasurfing.
Yeah, I can't wait for everyone to listen and hear this conversation that we had. And a little teaser, she has one of the best backgrounds we've had on the show. Even better than that time I was in a basement or a dungeon on a trip. So I just can't wait to share this conversation with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really worth sticking around for. But before we get to any of that, Nathan, there's some headlines in the world of para ice hockey you wanted to touch on. So what's some of the latest taking place in the world of para ice hockey?
The puck has dropped in Dawson Creek, and Canada's already out to a 2-0 start before they play the United States in round-robin action. But there's a couple major milestones a few Canadian players have reached. Friend of the program and captain of the team, Tyler McGregor, has hit 300 points in his international career. So an amazing milestone by him, as well as one of Canada's goaltenders, Corbin Watson, has now reached 100 games. And in doing so, he had a 7-0 shutout over China. So Canada's cruising through the round robin before they play the Americans later in the week. So right now it's an exciting team for the program as cuts and selections are about to be solidified in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, no, first off, hats off to both Tyler and Corbin. Whenever you reach one of those milestones, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And it just shows the lasting impact that they've had on the national program and how integral they've been for the team for so long. To have 300 points in your career on a national team is just remarkable, because these guys aren't playing all that many games throughout the year. There's still those competitions that they can go to, but there's a lot that goes into just getting to one competition and competing, because you're traveling all over the world. So to be able to be that consistent for that long in one of the world's top programs, it's like, I nothing to say but hats off, congratulations. I can't wait to see where Tyler can go from here.
Exactly. It's a testament to who they are as athletes, but also those programs in place. So, the hockey guys, we know them quite well. They'll celebrate everyone around them except for themselves, but they're guys that have worked hard, and it's showing on the ice. And hitting those milestones, reaching those moments as you're weeks and months out of a major competition like the games, is huge on that internal confidence and that belief that you have in yourself, but also that program as well. So for all of them, and even these up and coming stars, it's really amazing every time you get to a moment like that, because you celebrate as a team, you celebrate as a whole, you celebrate as a collective, and it's just amazing to see.
Absolutely. Well, we go from carving up the ice to carving up the waves, Nathan, because I'm thrilled that we are joined by Victoria Feige, the six-time ISA Para World Champion surfer. It was such a great conversation with her. We get some of the serious, we get some of the fun. Let's dive into it with Victoria Feige. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So you've been a staple on the surfing team in the surfing scene for years now. What drew you initially into the sport?
Oh, I grew up in Vancouver, skiing and snowboarding, skateboarding, skimboarding actually, but I was so close to Tofino that I just knew I loved snowboarding and powder when I was able-bodied. And so I had a surf lesson when I was 16 in Tofino, and I was hooked from the first wave, the speed, the acceleration. I loved it. And then when I got injured snowboarding, I just wanted to get all that back in my life again. So I was hooked from the beginning.
That's really amazing. Thank you for joining us, Victoria. Now, not everyone's familiar with parasurfing's classification system and like how the sport is broken down. Could you walk us through the classifications, but also how the competitions are judged with the various different classifications and categories?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a really cool classification system done by Dr. Mo Johnson and her colleagues. And so it's stratified by level of impairment. And so there is surfing with a prosthetic leg or limb loss for, say, someone's arm. And then there's surfing. In my category, I surf on my knees. So I have partial paralysis and use a wheelchair, but I can pop up to my knees. So in the kneel category is my category, but there's also surfing prone, where you surf on your stomach and paddle yourself in, usually for lower paras, and then there's also prone assist. So typically people who have substantial limb loss, like 3 or more, or quadriplegia. And so they have a pusher who pushes them in to the waves, and then they use their head and shoulders and what they've got to ride the waves. And then there's water safety and catchers on the inside that help to support people if they get knocked off their board or help them get back out there. And so there are certain classifications that have quite a lot of physical assistance. And there's also classifications that have no assistance and just paddle out by themselves and catch all their waves, like stand or my kneel division. And there's also surfing visually impaired, and that could be completely blind or partially sighted. And so there's actually 9 different classifications stratified by impairment, moving towards the Paralympics. And then the scoring itself is you're judged on your top 2 waves, usually in 20 minutes. And it's a combination of speed, power, and flow, the size of the wave, and then a combination of major maneuvers. So turns, if you can get a barrel, that's part of it, and more critical takeoffs on the wave. Does that make sense?
That's perfect, Victoria. Thank you for just providing us with that information, because it's especially for sports that we haven't covered on this program and don't get the same level of attention that some other ones do. It's really insightful to get that kind of insight. Okay, this is how the sport is, it breaks down and how you compete in it and how it's judged. Because if someone wants to tune in for the first time, now they have a bit of insight to be able to do that. For yourself, you're now based in Oahu. What does a normal day of training look like for you, and how does the situation, training in Oahu compare to your days when you were based in Vancouver?
Well, I still I come back to Vancouver quite a bit, and that's my home. But I also do most of my training in Oahu here on the North Shore. I love Vancouver, but it's a 6-hour journey to Tofino or a 6-hour journey to Westport, and it's a bit of a mission. And now I'm so lucky to be on the North Shore, and it's like a 10-minute drive to world-class waves, and the water is warm. But the waves are also quite powerful. So it's an adjustment coming from California or Washington State or Tofino in British Columbia. There's more power in the water here and the reef breaks, but it's also exciting. And so I try to surf every day if the waves are good, and if they're not, then it's Pilates or cross training. And I also work as a physical therapist, physio. That's my regular job when I'm not surfing. And in Canada, though, I would do the best I could in Vancouver. I lived in a flatwater city, but I would go to the university pools at night. I got special permission from the lifeguards, so I would take my small 6-foot surfboard into the swim lanes from 9 to 10 p.m. at University of British Columbia pool. And that's where I could keep a bit of my paddle strength. So, I mean, I looked crazy. I looked like that girl at the pool, but it meant that I could keep my shoulders strong and my endurance and keep my paddle speed and practice duck dives. And it really set me up for future success because I had this foundation of stronger paddling. And then when I was actually in waves, I wasn't, it feels strong in the water, and it makes all the difference because there's so much going on. yeah, there's always a way. You just got to find it.
Yeah, that's like one of the most amazing things about sport is just trying to find little ways to supplement your training and get that base kind of feel. Then when you're out in the real situation, whereas big waves or different surfaces, you can really have that confidence, have that strength and well-being. And you mentioned earlier you had a background in skiing, but as well you've done some snowboarding and skateboarding. What have been the parallels that you found in those sports that have really helped you in parasurfing?
Oh, there's so many parallels between skateboarding and snowboarding. I learned to ski when I was 4, and I was an avid snowboarder for 10 years. And also I like my risk-taking activities. I would jump a lot in the snowboard park, and also really trees and powder. The connection with nature and the connection with the mountain was some of my favorite aspects of snowboarding. And that connection with the ocean and the wave is one of my favorite aspects of surfing. I do love competition surfing. I love the challenge and the puzzle of it. But even if there's nobody's watching, I just love being in the ocean, and you share this moment of this wave, and then it crashes on the beach, and it's kind of ephemeral, but sharing it for a moment is just gorgeous. I like the challenge and the rush. Like, it's all adrenaline sports, and you do, like, whether you're standing when I was able-bodied, or now I surf on my knees, or surfing, say, on your stomach, like, the feeling of the ocean, like the rush is the same. So yeah, just want more of that.
And speaking of competitions, I mean, you're now a 6-time ISA World Surfing champion, World Parasurfing champion. What did this latest win mean for you?
This latest ISA win was so meaningful for a host of different reasons. One, I took a little time off the year before to go barrel hunting around the world, like in Nicaragua and then in Indonesia, and it kind of relit the fire. I've been competing for Canada since 2016. And so sometimes athletes just go through lulls or periods where they're not as inspired. And some of my free surfing has really relit that energy, to the fire to go push the boundaries. And then it was so amazing coming back to my community, adaptive surfing, parasurfing here in Oceanside, this past November. And then it was meaningful to rejoin my community again. I love it. I love the challenge. I love the people. But it also was a bit of a challenge for me. I got a little bit sick during the competition. And so I felt like there was all this pressure to see, like, can she win? Can she do it again? And that I was not feeling my absolute best. And so, a bit of a challenge. So I was proud that I managed to find a way. Yeah, there's a quote from Billie Jean King. I really like that. Like, pressure is a privilege. And, it is a privilege to compete for Canada and to push the boundaries. And I'm honored to win and put together a decent heat and keep on pushing. I really think this sport has so much potential for the Paralympics. And I just want to help it get there. I also really want to mentor the new girls. I met a couple new girls in my Neil division who are just getting started, and I love to see it. I love that the women's divisions are building and that the level of adaptive surfing is rising. It's exciting. And so, yeah, it was meaningful for a multitude of reasons.
That's really amazing, and congratulations on the World Championship once again. And I've been fortunate enough with AMI to do some editing on a parasurfing story a few years back, and just seeing the growth, seeing the passion and the love that so many people have for it, and just hearing you speak about those moments and those connections that you have with it, and even like mentoring that next generation. Where do you hope to see parasurfing grow in the coming years?
I would love to see parasurfing grow to every continent, every country that has building, whether it's landlocked or not. There's so many wave pools that are being built, and that they're actually quite accessible because they're kind of a standardized wave that you can learn. It's one location. They can always stop the machine if needed. There's water safety, and sometimes the wave pools themselves, the facilities are quite accessible, like in Bristol in the UK or Sydney, Australia. So I'd love to see more adaptive surfers get into the sport. I really had no idea when I first started, but people helped me and mentored me. And now I would love to pay it forward, to help people live the lives they want to live. And if you have a disability or not, if you want to have the ocean in your life, there's ways of doing that. And then long-term goal, I would love to compete in the Paralympics. I would love to see the sport move that direction. And the shows like this help raise awareness and exposure. And I actually was in that in my segment a couple years ago. That was when I just moved to Hawaii and I was just beginning. But it's really cool to see how much the sport has grown in that time. And I think it's just going to continue to grow.
No, that's fantastic. In terms of the sport of parasurfing, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have around the sport?
I think some of the biggest misconceptions around parasurfing is the one that it exists at all. I think people are surprised to see people with disabilities get into wetsuits and go into colder water, so especially when I surf back in Canada. You really don't see very many people doing that. And so people are always curious and watching, and they just don't know what to make of it. And then I think when you're learning to surf, small waves are appropriate. That's where you should be, on a bigger board in smaller, safer conditions. But the level of parasurfing is really rising. And so some of the misconceptions, I think, is that it's just kind of going straight on the whitewash. And that is the beginning for people, whether they able-bodied or not. You just start there. But then the level is really pushing into bigger waves and barrels and snaps and turns and kicking up spray. And I think people are pretty surprised. I'm working as a physical therapist here in Hawaii, and also I surf as much as I can. And I put together a little reel about how I just because a friend of mine asked me, like, how do you climb down the rocks and then jump in the water and go surf? And I was like, okay, I should put together a little, and this Instagram reel kind of blew up and now has like 1.3 million views. And I think people are so surprised that people kind of can get out of their wheelchair, and I have a little bit of partial leg movement, and so I can sort of climb the rocks like a little ninja, and I use whatever I've got. And so I think people are just surprised that, one, I'm getting out there doing it at all, and then they're surprised that I can turn, and then I'm pushing, and I think there's an exposure the challenge. I think it's still very new for people, but people are very supportive. That's the other thing too, is they think it's just cool. Like, even if I was an adaptive surfer, it's just really neat to see people with disabilities get into the ocean, because if you catch a good wave and you do a good turn or you get a barrel, there's no special treatment from the ocean. There's no tokenism. Like, if you did that, no one can take that from you or downplay it. And it's very equalizing. You feel free in the ocean. And whether you have a disability or not, I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And for your work as a physiotherapist, like, how does that help inform or support yourself as an athlete? And then, as you talked about, mentoring kind of the next wave of girls and women coming into the sport, like, how can you use your background to help support them and the team?
Oh, having my physio training is immensely helpful. Really, that's one of the reasons I think I've done so well in competition, and also protected my shoulders all this time. I've been a physio for 10 years, plus I have an orthopedic specialization and then a dual specialization in hand therapy, so like neck, shoulder, elbow to hand. And so I know a lot about shoulder injuries and how to come back from say, if there's health issues and you need to kind of regain your strength and endurance and cardio. I've spent a lot of time analyzing surfing and surf movements. And so I could break down the movements and the physics for what my body could do. So it really is I love the science and the analysis of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I spent so much time paddle training in the pool, is that I enjoyed the process of it. And it's also given me such a strong foundation that now when I paddle, even the North Shore, where it is the strongest waves in the world, I know that my shoulders are solid. I know that I've done some good training, and I'm prepared for the wipeouts and prepared for the waves. And I would love to share that knowledge with people with disabilities, especially if you have an injury, you have, say, less muscles innervated or limb loss, you need to use more of what you do have. And there can be overuse injuries. There can be risk of, say, dislocation if you're or fracture, if there's osteoporosis or not as much muscle, helping hold things together. And then even just for my friends who are able-bodied, like as we all get older, everyone I know wants to keep surfing for a lifetime. And I really would love to help men and women keep their shoulders strong and safe. And I'd love to put together almost a paddle training course and kind of blend my surf science and also my physio background in a way that is useful for people and helps everyone, get stronger in the water and catch more waves and be safe out there.
Parasurfing is a sport, as you mentioned earlier, that can definitely boom, and it has such a beautiful connection, as you mentioned, to the water, to the movement and everything like that. But for Canada's team, like going forward to hopefully get game status, is there a way that people can support the team or even follow you and follow other team members on their journey through World Championships, but hopefully get into a Paralympics one day?
Oh, yeah. There's so many ways to support. One is just spreading awareness about para surfing. If you're a person with a disability and you want to get into the sport, you can always contact us. There's so many people in different places all over the world who've taken the adaptive surf instructor course like I have and want to help build the sport. And right now there's been some changes with Surf Canada, and there's some they're kind of resetting things in terms of sport status and funding. And so right now there is no funding for Paralympic surfers for Canada, and everything's out of pocket. So right now, actually, it's Giving Tuesday, and I'm running a fundraiser, a raffle for a night in a hotel in Waikiki, and a free custom surfboard and some brand new fins and surf suit. It's actually pretty cool stuff. And I'm partnering with Indie Club, which is a nonprofit here in Hawaii that helps people with spinal cord injuries go live their best life. And we're trying to put together a budget for next year. So pushing into bigger waves and barrels. And it's all possible, but it also requires some water safety and coaching and also adaptive access. So getting to some of these locations that have really world-class wave. For me, boat access is a lot easier than, say, hiking in or kind of walking over the reef or crawling over the reef in case. So, putting together this fundraiser. You can check it out on my Instagram, Victoria Feige. Or I have a website, and there's so many ways to support, but this fundraiser right now would directly go to funding parasurfing and pushing the boundaries for next season.
Victoria, we wanted to change things up a little bit. We've gotten the earnest conversation out of the way. Now it's time to put you to the test with a bit of a rapid fire from me and Nathan. Are you ready?
Oh, yes. Okay,
perfect. First off, go to pre-competition snack.
Granola. Terra granola.
Sunrise or sunset surf?
Oh, sunrise. Less wind, and it's gorgeous.
Do you have any superstitions?
Okay, like when the volcano's going off, like here in Hawaii, I always think about like Pele, like the goddess of fire, and you just like don't want to make her mad.
Do you have a dream spot to surf?
Yes, the Mentawais in Indonesia. That my surf coach Martin Dunn, who's world class, said it's really the best waves in the world and the best place for barrel training. So, Mentawais barrel training is the dream this summer.
Can you describe your perfect wave or barrel to surf?
I like going right. So, anything that is like crystal clear water when it's blue and warm, and then for the waves to throw and really barrel like that, there has to be so much energy for it really to throw forward. So the waves here in Hawaii are just spectacular, and also the waves in Indonesia, they're just gorgeous. And yeah, I want to push into bigger waves, but I love something that's around head high, head and a half. But when it's like double or triple overhead, I get pretty scared.
What would your perfect surfing day look like?
I would wake up and be with a bunch of my friends, and we'll all hop in the water and take turns swapping waves and hooting for each other, because even surfing, though it's an individual sport in competition, I really think surfing, just like life, is a team sport. So it's better with friends.
We know you're big into music. What is your go-to pump-up song?
Oh, Zeppelin, Ramble On, Led Zeppelin. It's classic. Over the Hills and Far Away, Immigrant Song. I like 70s rock.
Great choices. You also love to do latte art. Do you have a favorite design you've done so far?
The latte art, I'm much better at physio and surfing than I am at latte art. The latte art is like ink. It's almost like Rorschach ink blot tests. Like it's very abstract. So, you can make it whatever you want to be. I like making little hearts, like when it comes together, but sometimes it's just a blob.
Victoria, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time. It's been so great to learn a bit more about yourself and the sport of parasurfing. It's something that's been on our radar for a long time. We're big fans, and we want to continue to support you and the parasurfing community as you go for that goal of eventually getting Paralympic inclusion. So thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today.
This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
And that was our conversation with Victoria Feige, the parasurfer, who is based out of Oahu, but still has that strong connection to your hometown of Vancouver there, Nathan. I was going to say your old stomping ground. No, your current stomping ground of Vancouver. But I mean, if you had to compare between the rainy days of Vancouver or that beautiful, picturesque landscape of Oahu, I think I know what your choice would be.
Yeah, I love Vancouver's North Shore, but I would take Oahu's North Shore for sure. But what an amazing conversation, and what an amazing ambassador for a sport that you and I have always been so interested in learning more. As we mentioned in the interview, AMI has covered parasurfing in the past, but to really see the progression, see the growth that they're getting. Hopefully this can be a parasport, but just even Victoria's story as a whole, like the training that she had to do in Vancouver, practicing on still water at the UBC pool is just amazing to hear, and how that's translated into success in the water. Being in Oahu, which is some of the toughest waves in the world, is just remarkable and just phenomenal. But also that heart and desire to mentor and really guide that next generation and keep progressing a sport that's definitely going to be on the boom and hopefully can get game status soon. But there was a quote that really stood out to her that you noticed in that conversation.
Yeah, it was something along the lines of like you're free when you're in the water, and it's like kind of the message that when you're there, you're doing it for yourself. You are free within your movements, and I think that is just truly encapsulates the sport and why people like Victoria are doing parasurfing to begin with. It's chasing that element of freedom, especially when you live with a disability. So that really resonated with me. But you also, with her talking about, doing the training at UBC after hours, like that just shows her commitment, her passion for wanting to be one of the best in parasurfing. And, she's achieved that level. It's had remarkable success at the World Championships, but it's that grinding. It's doing what you need to do when you have limited access to water. Having to go to a university pool with your surfboard and just try to train any way you can. That is true commitment, and that is why she is where she is today. But I also appreciated that she had the foresight to take time for herself in the last little while to go and chase waves around the world, recenter and refocus and rediscover her love for surfing. And I really appreciate that she was aware enough to understand, okay, this is what she needed in that moment.
That's a world champion's mindset, and that's why she's had success in the sport, is that recentering, that the reigniting of the passion, the love, and the experiences that she gets to have. And just in that conversation, just like even going back to your point at UBC and at that pool there, it's finding ways to supplement your training. It's finding ways to go above and beyond. And when you have someone with that mindset who's also done her coaching, done her instructing, she's going to be one of those names and one of those people that you look back on that's really helped parasurfing grow in Canada, but also globally as well, as she will have a lasting impact on this sport currently, but also in the years and generations to come.
Absolutely. And talking about going above and beyond, we are beyond the clock, so we have to bid you at home adieu, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.